No thanks. It's like drinking cough syrup.
This might surprise you, but some of the kids these days are doing just that. Welcome back to Crazy Blessed Adventures, where the links are in the notes, the fights are in the recording, and the kids hopefully are still in bed. So, this is an easy one. Mm-hmm. This is whether...
Should we have another baby?
Should we have... Not
us.
No, we're telling you whether or not you should have another baby. And you'll never guess what our vote is as the parents of 6 kids. Stay tuned to find out. So how do you want to structure this? I think we should start with all the terrible reasons that our friends have for not having
that's
more
good.
Kids.
I didn't even think of it that way. So all the reasons people say not to have more kids. Or not to have kids?
Not to have kids, not to have more kids. To only have 2 kids.
Don't have enough money.
Don't have enough money. That one's stupid.
Big number 1, yeah.
You'll find the money.
Yeah.
Although, one of the reasons we're not having more kids right now is because of money. Mm-hmm. But whatever. That's after 6 kids.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not enough money is probably not one. Although, in really poor countries, that's exactly why I think they shouldn't have kids. Is because they can't provide for them.
If you can't actually feed all the children.
But I think in most cases, we don't have enough money really means we don't have enough money to live the lifestyle we're currently living and also have kids. But you're not going to live the same lifestyle that you're currently living, so that's stupid.
Well, and it could be argued, too, that the lifestyle that they end up having with the relationships they have with each other is arguably worth more than the lifestyle they would have if they had all the stuff we wish we could buy them if we had more money.
I have no idea what the words that you're saying mean. Who's they? You two made pronouns.
I'm sorry. So the lifestyle that you're going to have with a lot of kids may not necessarily be not as good. It's just going to be different.
Sure. Or the lifestyle that you're going to have with 1 kid.
Right.
Is not going to be the same.
So people say, how are you going to put 6 kids through college? How can you afford that? Well, maybe we're not. Maybe they're going to pay their own way through college. I paid my own way through college.
Sure.
And I don't think it harmed me any to have to do that.
Sure.
Or, taught me different lessons, that's for sure. So the lifestyle's just different. It's not necessarily less. But I guess it's all about what you decide
if
is
you
a priority.
Decide ahead of time that I don't want the joy of children until I can afford to also pay for their college, an institution that may not exist by the time they get there.
True.
Then, I guess you're allowed to make yourself miserable for as long as you want. I have some strong opinions on this. This is the one sole issue that I ever have strong opinions on. Okay, so I can't afford it. That's one. I'm not ready, whatever that means, but everyone seems to say it. And that you'll, of course, never be ready.
You're never, ever going to be ready.
If you're married, then you already understand that there wasn't like a good preparation for that. Like none of the books that you read or the premarital counseling that you had, like it might have taught you a couple of things, but until you like actually got into it with somebody else, then that wasn't really the same. Your perception of what it was going to be wasn't the same. Oh, and there's all the fear stuff too. Like we've had several friends who before they had kids, like because of the way that they were brought up or whatever, they were afraid, well, but my dad was a terrible dad and I don't know how to be a good dad, or I didn't have a dad, or my mom was a horrible person and I'm afraid I'm going to damage my kid the same way. So if you feel that way so strongly that you have already committed suicide because life was worse for being alive with a mother as terrible as yours, then you shouldn't have kids. But otherwise, I guess you're glad that you're alive and that you made it through that, and you're probably not going to be that terrible if you're that worried about it. But even if you are, they will be at least as happy as you that they're at least alive and survived your terrible parenting.
Well, and most people who are that worried about it are looking for tools to not repeat those same mistakes. And
so they get to make other mistakes
that
they feel better about, which is exactly what your mom did. Is she didn't make the mistakes her mom made in her own eyes, which is why she doesn't feel the guilt that you think that she ought to feel about the way that she raised you, is because she thinks compared to what she put up with, she did a great job. So you'll get to do that to your kids. This is a pro having kids podcast, right? Okay.
You're so encouraging right now.
That's your job. So then, reasons to have kids. Were there any other reasons that you hear not to have kids? The adoption thing, I don't know how... I want to try the adoption thing, but I don't know... Like, for people who can't have kids, I don't know what
that's uncharted waters for us, really.
We looked into it,
Yeah.
and they gave us like the summary of like, here's how much it's going to cost you to go through this process, and we went, oh well,
that kind
we're
of
not that rich
there.
yet, and so we started a podcast about how to put up with a bunch of kids, hoping to raise the money to be able to adopt kids. So, if you care about orphans, kid, you were going to say reasons to have kids.
To have kids. Well, I wrote all of my reasons about whether to have more kids, not whether to start having kids.
Go ahead.
But my first one on the whether to have another baby. So this is assuming you already have one.
I'm guessing this is different from the woman's perspective than from the dude's perspective.
Probably.
Yeah. So, because in my mind, like, should I have kids or should I have more kids is the same question to me. It's just a matter of the kids existing or not.
There's the whole, like, am I ready factor, which we kind of already talked about. You're not ever going to be ready. And that applies, too, with having more kids. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know how I'm handling one. One is hard enough, so I don't know how I would handle another one. Here's the answer to that. You do not know how much you can handle until you get in the situation. Honestly, your perspective totally changes. There was a day when I was terrified to take one child to the grocery store, one baby to the grocery store. And now taking just the baby to the grocery store feels like, oh, I'm going to the grocery store with no kids. Oh yeah, and the baby, but that doesn't really count. So it's all about perspective, and your perspective once you get there will totally change. And the things that you're afraid of happening probably aren't going to happen, or you're going to learn things in that situation that you don't anticipate learning. The human ability to adapt to difficult circumstances is remarkable, and you will look back on those experiences and go, wow, I didn't think I could do it, but I could, and I did, and
I'd be shocked if any of that is actually helpful to anyone. That sounds a lot like what I imagine preteens feel like when the parents are describing what puberty is going to be like. Like, no, it's going to be great. I mean, totally different, and horrible things are going to happen to you. But trust me, in the end, like, you will have survived it.
No, just trust that you can do so much more than you think you can do.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So that's number one.
I agree with all of your points.
That's just to quell the fears. It's not going to be, you're not going to die. You're going to rise to the challenge. You're going to be amazing.
You could say the same thing about torture, though, right? Like, you'd be surprised how much torture you can go through, right? When John McCain talks about how much he learned through all of his experiences, I kind of feel like, well, that's great. I'm glad you feel good about that.
No, that's true. There's experiences that I've been through in the childbearing process, going through a miscarriage, for example. That is an experience that I learned a lot from, but I wouldn't necessarily want to repeat or wouldn't want anybody else to go through.
Right.
Because it's painful.
Okay.
So that's a totally different kind of rising to the challenge. Yes, we overcome it and you go through that difficult thing and you're a different person on the other side. But it's totally different from the rising to the challenge of the blessing in your life.
Right.
That is difficult, but you also enjoy it.
So in one case,
a totally different kind of challenge.
So in one case, you're making something good out of a bad situation, and the other one is just a good situation that you were afraid was going to be a bad situation. All right, that's fair.
Right. Yeah. The next thing is having siblings, they entertain each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have one, you are their sole source of entertainment, and it is a lot more work to entertain one child than it is to entertain 2 children or 3 children or 4. The more there are, the less of them you have to entertain, because they always have somebody to play from or somebody to learn from. There are so many things that my kids have learned from each other that I didn't realize they were learning from the other child, but then now I don't have to teach them that.
Way better teaching than we'll ever be.
Yeah. One of our daughters taught one of our other daughters to spell and write her name before I even realized that she was ready to learn that.
Right, she wasn't even in high school yet.
Floored.
She was only 13.
But we were totally floored when she came out and was just writing her name, and I was like, where did you learn that? And it was from her sister. But the way they interact with each other, you think because you're constantly entertaining one child all the time that you're going to have to entertain that much times 2, but it's not true. It's actually going to go down. Yeah. Along those same lines, 1 + 1 kid does not necessarily equal 2 kids in the amount of energy you're going to have to expend and resources you're going to have to expend. In some cases, yes. when you're talking about if you're going to put your kids through college, that's 2 college tuitions. So that is the case. But there are so many things that you buy for baby number 1 that you don't have to buy for baby number 2. All of the equipment. If it's the same gender, all the clothes. Yeah. So 6 kids worth of clothes doesn't actually mean we're purchasing 6 kids worth of clothes. Correct. We're usually purchasing for the oldest son and daughter, and then passing down and filling in gaps if stuff's worn out. But it's not 6 kids worth of actual clothes in the budget.
It's 6 kids worth of milk, I'll tell you that much.
That is
I'm pretty sure at least one of them is just dumping whole gallons down the drain. We're not even drinking it. It's ridiculous.
But again, then with them teaching each other stuff or the way they share things, it's not necessarily even 6 kids worth of energy expended, while there is some to that where you have to be sure you're addressing each of their individual needs. There's so much interaction they get from each other that it's not necessarily the same as having 1 and then 1 more. It's not double the load.
Other reasons to have more kids.
Other reasons. So there are a lot of life lessons that are really built in to having a lot of kids in the house, or at least more than 1 kid in the house. Things like sharing, especially with a lot of kids, sharing is non-negotiable. Having to be kind to somebody else, having to wait your turn or take turns, not always getting your own way, or having to learn how to problem solve or negotiate to some extent. And there's a level of independence that kids have to learn, because I cannot tie all 6 kids' shoes all before we leave. So you need to learn how to put your own shoes on, or there's just things that they have to, or they need to learn how to do themselves, that if I only had 1 or 2, I probably would just continue doing for them. But I think that it's really great that they now know how to do those things by themselves.
Right. And it's by built in, you mean these aren't lessons that we intentionally teach our kids. They're just things that come up where we still have to teach them how to deal with them. Right. But we don't actually have to go out of our way to find an opportunity for one kid to have to share his toys, or have a play date so they have experience interacting with someone and acting socially appropriate. They just have that already. That's true. And I think it's related to the other one that's a huge one for me as a super controlling guy who wants to have everything go the right way, is there's just too many of them for a guy like me to be able to micromanage everything that they do. So they've got lots of freedom to experiment with social interaction and to try things and to mess up in ways that I would fix sooner. But they actually get to play out those scenarios all the way until they're terrible, terrible endings and learn a lot of lessons on their own more effectively than if I were there guiding them through every little, oh, no, say it this way. Okay, oh, no, don't react that way. They just get to go out there and be themselves and then to learn lessons that way. And then if it goes terribly, then we can always rewind and I can go, oh, well, if you would have said this way, if you would have done this way, then that would have turned out differently. Good luck next time. And then they get to go out and be free of micromanaging dad. Right.
Our older kids especially, because they have to learn how to deal with the younger kids who don't necessarily know how to share and take turns yet. The older kids especially are becoming really good at negotiating. Right. I really want this toy that you have, but I know you don't want to give it to me because you know I want it, and so here I'm going to give you this other thing and trade back. But they're learning a lot of skills that they probably wouldn't necessarily learn, relational type skills that they wouldn't be able to gather in any other kind of setting.
And I think they're starting to see themselves like as they take on those roles that before their parents was taking on, of, if I take a toy from you, I've got to give you something else to distract you. As they learn that, I think, maybe I'm just projecting onto them, I think they're seeing some of themselves in that and going, oh, so my parents are kind of playing me, and they kind of see like they're in this learning progression because they're helping other people learn these lessons, and it kind of puts everybody in some kind of spectrum of learning important lessons in social interaction, and there's rules to this game of dealing with people.
Yeah. And it seems like they really see themselves as part of a team or a unit or a group, rather than things being more all about them. There's not an opportunity for a lot of it's all about me scenarios. The events that revolve around just one child are pretty rare, just because we don't have the time to give them that kind of opportunity. So we really, there's a lot of things that are group focused, and we try to do things that are just with particular children. But there's just the opportunity for that is limited, so it becomes a really special thing as opposed to the larger amount of their life revolving around those kind of scenarios.
Right. Whereas in most cases you would have just a couple kids and you'd have to look specifically for opportunities for them to interact, especially if you're homeschooled.
Sure.
If you're in school, of course, you got that 8 hours a day. But if you're homeschooled and you only got a couple kids, then you're looking for situations for us not to be one-on-one. And then we just have the opposite situation where we have to intentionally go look for situations to be one-on-one with them.
I have one last one. My favorite one is the sibling relationships that they form with each other. Just the dynamic of watching, and we see this each time that a new baby joins the family, but the dynamics of watching them relate to each other and the friendships they form and the bonds that they have. And you see that certain ones of them relate really well on certain levels, and they kind of go through phases. But when you're watching them, two kids play certain types of games, or then, one of our kids that just really loves reading to the baby all the time, and the baby clearly adores her and lights up whenever she starts talking. And just watching those relationships form between the two of them, the bonds are just really precious. And the love you already have for your kids, when you see them in those kind of scenarios and those relationships they form, it's even brighter and stronger, and you go, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. It's just really precious. That's my favorite part.
So the last two for me are just them as a group are a whole lot easier to herd. So when it's just me and a kid, I give them an instruction, and then they are having to decide in their head whether or not they're going to obey me, or whether they want to, or is this a trick, or all of that stuff, and me trying to convince them. Or discipline them so that they're obedient and they always do it even if they hate it. We don't have that when we go places with our kids. You get a couple kids on your team and it's just a herd mentality. There's no thinking through, should I go this direction or not? It's just like my whole herd has moved on and I'm going with them. There's not that fight. So I just think they're a lot easier to control when there's a lot of them.
There's some peer pressure.
Yeah, some peer pressure, and also I think just a subconscious, this is what we're all doing. It's not a matter of a kid versus a parent.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I think is the most significant is I don't know many people, I can't think of any off the top of my head, who have a lot of kids and just really wish they hadn't had so many.
Yeah.
And I know tons of people who had a certain number and later on in life really wish they had had more and second guess that question all the time. So it seems like the safest bet is towards having more. Very few people regret it. Maybe this is my own personal experience, but very few people seem to regret that. And lots of people seem to regret only having a couple.
Right.
So when at some point though, and this still I don't know the answer to this one, where do you stop?
I think you just have to know that. You just have to decide it for yourself. Like you said, and we've had this conversation before after baby number 4 and after baby number 5, is are we going to look back 10 years from now and wish we'd had one more? And that is obviously we decided we didn't want to have that scenario. We didn't want to be wishing we'd had one more and then not able to do something about it. And I think if you have that desire still to have, and you're both on board with having more, then as long as you actually can't, as long as you actually can feed them, and you're not in a scenario, like you said, a third world country where you can't feed the children, that's the different story. But if you actually can feed the children and you really want to have more, you should have more.
So we didn't talk about discussing this, but do we want to have more?
You know what? I don't know. I've said we were done before. I said we were done after 4. I was very adamant that we were done after 4.
Okay.
So I'm not banking on us. Right now, I don't feel like I want to have more.
Okay, but why do you not want to have more?
It feels full. The house feels full. The car is full.
Car's full. You buy another car.
It's true. We did. We filled the minivan and then had to grow. My plate feels full. Is that a thing?
But it didn't feel full at 5?
It did, but I felt like I had room for more.
Wow.
I don't feel that, but again, I said this at 4, and so I'm not banking on myself at all, and I can fully see the potential for the youngest one who's 6 months now, and so she's still pretty young, but see maybe a year from now, she's getting to that toddler stage, and I then go, oh no, this can't be the last baby. I can totally see the potential for that. So that's
how
why
I get you.
that I know the toddlers are they get me every time.
Not babies get you every time. The babies stop being babies, and then you want another baby.
Of freak out.
You need grandbabies.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll have a lot of grandbabies with 6 kids. Maybe that was the plan. Keep having them until you have grandbabies. At the moment that I want to have more, I could definitely see us stopping here, but I could see the potential for a year from now feeling totally differently. So
pregnant.
We hate pregnant.
Pregnant sucks.
I hate pregnant.
Pregnant is stupid.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's the major deterrent.
That is, that almost kept us from number 6.
But adoption, there's adoption.
Yeah.
I'd like to adopt two more kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that might be an avenue we explore.
Babies.
Right.
So you can have your babies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And they'll grow up so they can be mine.
Yeah.
That's our deal, right?
Sure.
When they're babies, they're yours, and when
they grow up, then
when they're 3, we kick you out. Is that what we used to say?
We used to say that I was when the last one was 3, that I was out of there.
And one more. Our marriage.
Oh yeah.
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 Marriage is way better with kids.
Yeah.
For sure. Because we used to fight about stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And so, although having a baby to save a marriage is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Because when the baby comes, you got to focus on the baby. It can't be the baby's here to serve some purpose for you.
Right.
It's the opposite of that.
Right.
But yeah, when you have actual real emergencies, when your kid's head is split open, then all the stupid stuff about where you put your laundry or how you wash the dishes or all that stuff is out the window.
Yeah, you have an actual real goal that the two of you can focus together on to achieve, rather than kind of petty arguments that we had before.
Yeah,
we had children.
Is that a common thing? Do you think most people who have kids, it helps their marriage? You do have you both have this thing that you made, and then it's cute, so you both have get to adore it together. Yeah. But aside from that, I still feel like it helped our marriage be more substantial and get more perspective.
Yeah, I think so. I think it probably depends. Like you said, don't have a baby to save a marriage, but it probably depends on what the issues are in the marriage. Like I said, we had some pretty petty arguments, and we were very, I think, self-absorbed, both kind of looking for what the other person could give us rather than what we could pour into that. And so then
we would not have said that.
We were
advised the opposite of that, and we would say that we were striving for the opposite of that. We didn't realize how horribly we were failing at that until we had something actually important.
Right.
Because I'm not that important. I'm not going to die. You're not that important. If I wasn't around, you wouldn't die.
Right.
If we weren't around, our kids would die.
Yeah.
So if you feel like your kids would die without you, then please like and subscribe. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to get it one of these times. Go ahead.
Comment with your reasons for why people should have children, or...
You suck at this too!
Apparently so.
No, you do a great job. And you sound believable. Go ahead.
So comment with your reasons, pros and cons, why to have more children or why to start having children. Like and subscribe and follow us at crazyblessedadventures.com.
You want to make a baby?
Nope.